What is up, guys? Welcome to another video. Another video means another dopamine high, because I had to buy something to feel something, and today we are taking a look at another NECA product. And before I go into what that product is, for those who are here for the Halo and Star Wars stuff, I apologize. I know I've been doing a lot of NECA products, but because that stuff's available and I'm able to pick it up in person. As for the Star Wars stuff, I have a bunch of pre-orders coming in, so hopefully in the next week or so we'll be getting some Star Wars content. And as for the Halo stuff, there's been no leaks, no information about the Spartan Collection Wave 7, and there's only really one World of Halo thing that I'm remotely interested in reviewing, so there's going to be a drought with Halo stuff for the time being, unless something else pops out of nowhere. So yeah, there's that information on Star Wars and Halo stuff. So for the time being, we're going to be reviewing NECA stuff. I know a lot of y'all also like that, so it isn't too bad. So with all that said, we are taking a look at the NECA, Ahab. His name is Ahab. I was going to say the Ahab Predator, but his name's Ahab. He's a Predator, and he's a very cool guy, and I looked into his backstory, his lore. He's probably one of my favorite Predators outside of the movies. So with all that said, let's take a look into our boy. And for those who don't know, Ahab does come from a series of comics, two in specific, Fire and Stone and Life and Death. The comics in question are Alien vs. Predator, Fire and Stone, Predator, Fire and Stone, Prometheus, Fire and Stone, Omega, and then Prometheus, Life and Death, Aliens, Life and Death, Alien vs. Predator, Life and Death. And yeah, that's a mouthful, but he is from all those comics. Hold on, I gotta make an edit. So basically, he does appear in a series of comics, each series about having 4 to 3 comics, and Alien vs. Predator, Fire and Stone is 4 comics, so is Predator, Fire and Stone, and then Prometheus, Fire and Stone, Omega. Those are 4 comics in each, so that's 4, 8, 12 comics, and then Prometheus, Life and Death, Alien, Life and Death, and Alien vs. Predator, Life and Death, about 3 to 4 comics in each one of those stories. So that was my bad. I worded wrong. Very good reads. Go check it out. Ahab is an absolute unit. And just to give you a brief intro to who he is, because like I said, I'm not going over his entire story. He is a veteran hunter. He has many trophies. He's killed many things, has gained many scars, and he finds out about the engineers on one of his hunts. He's never seen one before. He just knows that these things are praised, and they, to him, come off as worthy, trophies. So he's hell-bent on finding them, and he gets into a conflict entangled with humans and xenomorphs, and eventually he does meet an engineer and goes toe-to-toe with them, and I'm not going to spoil how that goes. And then later down the road, he kills another Predator called Hornhead, and that's all I'm telling you, but it's a very interesting read, and, go check it out. Ahab is, like I said, an absolute unit amongst Predators. And I do understand that my brief description of the story is not doing it justice. This is actually a very entertaining story. It's just a lot goes on, and I do recommend it to anyone. So please go check it out after this video if you have the chance. So now actually taking a look into the figure and looking at the box, here we have Ahab all smexy with his one eyeball, and flipping the box over to the back, we can see a brief, a few bullet points of what he comes with, some photos of him looking all good and smexy. There's a lot of, things included with this boy that I'm very excited to go over and show you. And then opening up the box, we can see another big photo of him, and then all the little goodies and the figure, of course. So very excited to get into that, and just pulling him out of the box, first impressions, visuals, everything is looking promising. So with all that said, let's take a look into the figure. So diving into articulation and starting off in the head region, he can look up and down a decent amount. And then, of course, you can have him rotate his head 360 degrees. Just be careful with his pred locks, get in the way and moving all that stuff around. And then you can have him tilt his head side to side. So a lot of range of motion in the head area. So it's very nice to see. So getting into arm articulation, before you start bending anything, be careful with the tubes. Don't be like me with the Jungle Hunter and tear them. Just, be very careful. And looking at his arm articulation, he can bring it up a decent amount. I will admit that the shoulder joints did feel kind of stiff. I was able to loosen them up eventually, but just be careful. Don't pull anything too hard and break your figure's entire arm. But he can pretty much move his arm a pretty decent amount when it comes to, the back and forth. You can rotate him at the bicep, and then getting to the elbow, you can bring that forearm up a decent amount. Always good to see there. And then, of course, the hand formula on our boy is you can bend the wrist however you want and rotate it 360 degrees. That formula is never going to change. So overall, pretty decent range of motion despite the stiffness in the shoulder area, and the limitations due to the tubing on the one side of his body. And then taking a look at his torso articulation, he can rotate his torso 360 degrees, and you can kind of have him bend back and forth a little bit. Nothing too insane. You're not getting a whole crunch out of him. Just, he's able to lean back and forth. And I would say you can get him to kind of pivot and wibble wobble, but it's barely there. It's there, just, barely. So overall, all right, torso articulation for our figure. And then finally, taking a look at his leg articulation, he can bring his legs up all the way. So if you want him to sit down in a chair, you can do that for whatever reason. And then when we go to a split, he can't really achieve a full split, not because his articulation doesn't let him. If there wasn't, that cloth and that armor there, I'm pretty sure he'd be able to, but his own attire does limit that. But it's not the end of the world, not a deal breaker, doesn't ruin the leg articulation overall. And then, like I said, with the splits, if that armor wasn't there, I can guarantee you he'd be able to rotate his legs 360 degrees, but because of his armor, he cannot. And then getting to the knee, you can have him do an almost complete butt kick, very good range of motion in the knee, very good for poses and just all that stuff. So very happy to see that there. And then bring it down to the feet. Of course, you can rotate his feet 360 degrees and bend them, wibble wobble them, just same formula as the hands. So overall, very good range of motion throughout his legs, despite some limitations due to his attire. And despite a few stiff areas on the figure, overall good articulation on our boy Ahab. Getting into things included, starting off with his biomask, there is no second head. It's just you can pop the mask on and it fits on fine. It doesn't look out of place or anything. So I think it's really cool that they made it so the biomask does just kind of fit on his face and doesn't, look abnormal or anything. So very cool there. And just taking a quick second to admire Ahab's biomask, we can see the little red dots on the side of the biomask, all the scratches, the scruffs, just all the little details that NECA got down. And then looking in the inside of the mask, we can even see the red lens, something that most people probably won't even see, but they still put in that effort. Just NECA did a really good job with nailing down Ahab's biomask, so good job, NECA. Then moving down to the gauntlets, looking at the self-destruction device first, it flips open just like every other one, but this one seems a lot more secure, unlike, with Scout, Predator, if you know what happened there. The little cover for the self-destruction device did break off or fall off and it became very loose, but here that is not the case. And just taking a second to just admire all the little details that they got with the self-destruction device, all the little nooks, crannies. They didn't get the little digits on the screen, but still everything else just looks phenomenal. So just me praising NECA again, what's new, but just really cool how much little details that they're able to get down on the gauntlet. And then moving to the other gauntlet, the one with the wrist blades, we can see that his wrist blades are a lot different. He has 3 instead of 2, which I think looks really cool, and of course you can push them in and out of the gauntlet. But something that's really unique is if you don't like the 3 blades, you can actually take it off and you can swap it off with a wrist blade that has 2 blades. Now, if you like that, by all means, but I'm probably gonna keep him with the 3 blades for the rest of the video and when I finally do display him. But I think it's cool that they made this available to us, and it's just the extra little detail and effort NECA put in for that is just really cool. And then of course the gauntlet looks really good with all the little details that NECA did get down with the sculpting. Sorry, I needed to put in more NECA praise somehow. And then of course we have our swappable hands. We have our 2 default open hands, kind of an in-between of a holding and open hand, and then 2 just holding hands. And then we have the plasma caster, and this is going back to the Jungle Hunter design, a design I actually like a lot more. Sorry, Predator 2 stands, I just preferred this plasma caster over what we got in Predator 2. But of course, it can do the thing where it the gun leans back and forth. You can rotate it 360 degrees, have it look up and down and all around. So very good to see that. And of course, you just latch it on with the pegs and the peg holes. So it's not complicated by any means. And of course, it fits on all nice and snug. Just when you have him looking towards the direction of the gun, it may push it off every now and then because his head's attached to his body and the plasma caster is just put in with pegs. So of course the head, which is way more secure than the plasma caster, is going to knock the plasma caster over. But overall, you shouldn't have problems with it falling over. And of course, with everything else, I just gotta admire all the little details, all the little scratches and lines and little things that NECA got with this. Just, it looks really good. That's all I'm gonna say. And getting into the more handheld accessories now, don't kill me in the comment section below. I've looked up what this weapon is called. I can't find anything. I looked up like Elder Combi Stick, just spear, axe, spear, and I don't know what this is called, but I'm calling it a combi stick. But a combi stick is included and it's fully extended. There's no collapsed version and it's very cool. I think the handle, the engravings are all done, and this is taller than our boy, so this is a pretty big weapon and it's just very cool. I like the metallic silver and just everything that NECA did with it. And like I said, I tried doing my research. I couldn't find anything. Please don't crucify me if this isn't called a combi stick officially, but I'm calling it a combi stick. And we do have a smart disc included. Now, we only get the extended version of it. We don't get the collapsed version, and there's no way to, holster it. We don't even have the thigh holster for a smart disc, even if we, had a collapsed version. But I think it's cool that they included this nonetheless, because you can display your Predator with it, obviously. And of course, they did a really good job with the visuals. The weathering looks really good. They just overall sculpt, all the little tiny wiring and stuff is there, and it looks very good. And one cool accessory I wasn't expecting to get was this skull and spine. Now, this isn't any other just normal skull and spine. This is the skull and spine of an engineer, so you can imagine that this is quite bigger than the normal trophies that we get with our Predators. So visual representation, just a skull and spine from the Jungle Hunter Predator versus this, and it's huge. I think visually they did a good job with the sculpting and painting, but I just think it's cool that they gave us this accessory. It's just very cool looking, and I'm pretty sure anyone would welcome this to their Predator collection. And then getting into the accessory I'm most excited to show you guys, and that is the engineer gun. And I think that Ahab is the only NECA figure that come with this accessory. I checked all the engineer figures I can find by NECA, and I don't see them coming with any kind of engineer gun. And obviously, I don't think any other Predators come with an engineer gun. So I think that this is a Ahab exclusive accessory, and it looks really cool. I think the design is very foreign, it's very alien. Granted, it's from the engineers, so of course it is, and I think NECA did a good job at executing it. The paint job's very simple, just kind of matte black with probably a different shade of black thrown in there, or dark gray I should say. And then of course all the lines and the plating on the gun they got down. Just, it looks really good, it looks awesome, it looks weird, and I just like it. And just to round things off, there is this one little clip that's included that goes in the back of most Predators. Now, originally, I thought that this was just a combi stick clip that would go for his, extended combi stick. But I, was very wrong, because the combi stick does not like to stay in it at all. It's too thin, and it just keeps kind of just flipping and flailing and just falling out. So what I did find out is that this is actually a clip for the engineer gun, so your boy Ahab can have the engineer gun on his back if you don't want him holding it. So I thought that was very cool. And with all the accessories out of the way, we can take a look at some size comparisons to put this boy in scale. And starting off, we just have a normal drone from Aliens. Then we have Jazzware's Halo, the Spartan Collection, Spartan Jerome. What a throwback, am I right? Then we have Jazzware's World of Halo, Halo Infinite Master Chief. Then we have Hasbro's Star Wars The Black Series Captain Fordo. And then finally, we have McFarlane's The Doomslayer. So here we are at the turntable segment of the video. I pretty much go over what I like, dislike about this figure, just give my general opinions about how this figure makes me feel. And if you agree, disagree, more than welcome to go down in the comment section below, branch off what I say, and create a discussion. I like talking about this stuff, and I will probably going to respond to you because, like I said, I like talking about this stuff. So getting into what I dislike about this figure first, just to get that sour stuff out of the way. And ironically, the first thing I want to address is the wiring, because I did preach in the beginning of the video, please be careful. Don't rotate his arm 360 degrees because you will snap the wire like I did with the Jungle Hunter. Now, how it broke for me on Ahab, I have no idea. I didn't rotate his arm 360 degrees. It just did. So it's come to my attention that these wires just break easily. So just be very careful. Don't, roughhouse around that area of his body. Just kind of sucks that there is just this really fragile part of this figure, because these are really cool figures and you want to pose them and move them around. But now you have to worry about the risk of breaking these wires. The only other thing I can think of off the top of my head that irks me about Ahab is the stiffness in his shoulders. Be very careful with that. Just don't break off his arm. Breaking a wire is one thing, breaking the arm is another, because at least with the wire, it's a little thing. The arm, not so much. So hopefully your Ahab's arms aren't as stiff as mine and you can move them more fluently and, not have to worry about breaking them off. But if this is an everybody issue, then yeah, that's a problem. And then I wouldn't call it stiffness, but the lack of movement in the torso is something that irks me as well. If you've seen any of my Spartan collection videos or some of my recent Predator videos, you know how much of a stickler I am for torso articulation. I really like it when a figure has decent torso articulation, and at least with the Predator figures, there is articulation and movement there, unlike the Halo figures where there's pretty much none. So I am grateful that Ahab does come with some range of motion in his torso. Just kind of wish there was a little bit more. And then getting into the things I do like about this figure, and I actually have some things that I like that aren't just normal NECA praise. Now, I don't know if these features are like the norm, so please don't crucify me going, oh, how can these be pros if, they're the norm? These come with the figure, blah, 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 that kind of bullshit. But I really like the removable mask rather than a swappable head. It's a hell of a lot more convenient. It still fits on nice and secure. It just looks good. I'm very happy with how it just looks overall. And I really like how they did the interior of the mask as well, just going that extra mile and adding detail. So I like that feature, and I really like the swappable gauntlets, that layer of customization. I think it's very cool. Granted, I'm not going to remove the 3-blade gauntlet, but, for those who don't like it and want the 2 blades, there's that option for you. So I really do like that. And then after that, I can go into my usual NECA praise. I think that this figure looks really good. The painting and the sculpting, just all the little details they were able to get in, all the little scratches, all the scuffs, all the little furs on his waist bit, the netting, just all the little, scratches and dents on the skull on his chest, just all the little things that NECA got down, just phenomenal. The paint jobs look really good, all the multiple colors fading and on his skin, the multiple colors on the fur pelt, all the metallic and matte colors on his armor, just all the little things that NECA was able to get is just phenomenal. They always do a good job when it comes to the paint job and sculpting of their figures. The feel of the figure, I know I had some issues with the arm and the torso, but I think the articulation in the leg and head region are really good. So I'm not going to say overall articulation, but just in those specific areas, the articulation is really good. And then the amount of goodies that we get with this figure, we get so many accessories. We get swappable hands, multiple weapons, just all that cool stuff. The only thing that I am kind of bummed out about is that we don't get a blast effect for our plasma caster, but if you do have a Jungle Hunter or another Predator who has the same kind of plasma caster and they do come with a blast effect, you can put that on your plasma caster. But besides that, I think that, overall very happy with the amount of accessories that we get. It's just always good to see a figure that looks good, for the most part feels good, and then they come with a bunch of accessories. It's really awesome to see. So overall, I would definitely say that my likes definitely outweigh the dislikes. I do have a few issues with this figure, but there's so much more that I like about this figure. He looks good, he feels alright. There's a few issues with the shoulders and torso, but throughout the rest of his body he's fine. He comes with a bunch of goodies. He's just overall a badass looking Predator that I would recommend anyone adding to their collection. Even if you haven't read the comics, I do recommend that you do so, but I do recommend picking up this figure also. So yeah, that's my take on Ahab. And with all that said, here we are at the outro portion of the video. If you did like this video, a like and a subscription would be awesome. You don't have to comment because that's a lot of effort, I get it. But if you do agree or disagree with anything I said, you're more than welcome to go down below, create discussion, branch off of anything I said, because I do like talking about this stuff. And don't worry about the bell, we both know that shit is broken. So if you did like this video and you want to see more like it, I do a bunch of reviews on the channel. I do Predator stuff, Alien stuff, Star Wars, and Halo stuff as well. So if any of that interests you, you're more than welcome to go and check that all out. And I hope you have a good rest of your day and stay hydrated, because if you don't, I will kill you.